Hey guys, welcome to another video, and I'm here to talk about my hero, my movie hero, Indiana Jones. Fuck yeah, Indiana Jones. Who doesn't fucking love Indiana Jones? He's one of the greatest movie heroes, one of my favorite movie characters. I love the movies. I love all the Indiana Jones movies. Yes, you heard me right. I love all the Indiana Jones movies. Well, maybe not love, but I enjoy all of the Indiana Jones movies. So yeah, I thought in this video I talk about the fourth Indiana Jones movie. Yes, this video is about how I think Indiana Jones: The Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is not that bad. Yes, I think Raiders of the Lost Ark is one of my favorite films of all time. Last Crusade is an amazing sequel. Temple of Doom is more of a prequel, but everyone says Temple of Doom is like the most underrated, most underappreciated. It might even be better than Raiders and Last Crusade. I don't think so and stuff, but I love a lot of people. They give Temple of Doom the pass, but they don't give Kingdom of the Crystal Skull a pass, because Kingdom of the Crystal Skull does all these stupid things, all these awful things, and it's so unforgivable. It's one of the worst Spielberg films, the worst Indiana Jones movie, almost destroyed Indiana Jones as a character. I'm here to just say that's all bullshit. It's not true, and it is the weakest out of the four. But I'm going to explain this video why I think it's very underappreciated, and the hate that people give it, some of it's justified, but some of it is not in the slightest bit justified. And I'll even explain that, how there's a lot of elements in this movie that are better than Temple of Doom. So let's get to it. The movie takes place in the 1950s, which is, of course, because it's like 20 years later from the last Indiana Jones. So like, instead of him battling Nazis, he's going to battle Russians and stuff. And the movie begins with a pretty cool Elvis song and a good opening and stuff. And it begins with Indiana Jones and his buddy Mac being kidnapped by the villain, played by Cate Blanchett. And I'll say about Cate Blanchett, I don't think she is a great villain. And I think she's the weakest out of all the Indiana Jones ones. She's no Belloc or Donovan, but she does what she needs to do, I guess. But I'll fully admit that is definitely a negative on the film. But the opening to this movie is actually pretty darn good. It's them going to Area 51 because this is the Indiana Jones movie. They bring in aliens and stuff, and that's something George Lucas and Steven Spielberg always talked about. They always wanted to bring aliens in Indiana Jones. That's pretty fucking cool. Things they always wanted, Spielberg, was aliens or a father-son movie. Another father-son movie, because Last Crusade was a father-son movie. And aliens is a cool idea and stuff, and the opening action scene is pretty great. A lot of people have one issue when Indiana Jones does the whip thing, misses the car, flies back, hits back into the other car, and says, "Damn, I thought I timed that properly." People hate that scene because they're like, "Oh, that's Indiana Jones getting old. I don't want to see Indiana Jones get old. That's just stupid." I have no problem with this scene. I think it's a very funny scene, and Indiana Jones, people got to realize, he's not a Mary Sue. He's not perfect. And he is older. He's in his fucking 60s. He's swinging a whip around and flicking around. Of course, he's got a fucking miss and shit like that. So I actually really like that scene. It shows human error. People fuck up and stuff. And even when he does fuck up, he still elbows the guy and kicks ass and stuff. So I don't see the problem with that scene. A lot of people don't like it. Like, I don't want to see my hero old and fucking up. But I find no issue with it. I think it shows, human error, and, even heroes like Indiana Jones fuck up sometimes. So, I don't know. It's relatable, I guess. So the whole scene is great, and it also adds to another character, Mac, played by Ray Winstone, which is another complaint people have, and I actually agree with, too. This is a very, very, very good point on people's behalf, is he is a shitty character, Mac. He is completely useless in this movie. He's one of the worst characters in Indiana Jones. He's literally there just to betray Indiana Jones and join him and betray him again. If they took him out of the movie, he would make no difference. The movie would still be the same. So I agree with that. So he's a shitty ass fucking character. So I'll get to the big elephant in the room about Indiana Jones 4. The refrigerator scene. Everyone talks about this fucking scene. And they're like, this is the stupidest thing. Anytime people say negative about this movie, they talk about the refrigerator scene. I'll also give to them. That's stupid. It's ridiculous. However, Indiana Jones movies have done stupid things before. And the Temple of Doom, him, Short Round, and Willie Scott are in a plane, and they jump out of the plane using a inflatable raft. And they land perfectly in the water. So that is ridiculous. And people have no problem with that. But when he survives a nuclear explosion through a refrigerator, that's a problem. I get it. It is a problem because it's stupid. But the raft thing is just as stupid. But a lot of people are like, oh, come on, that ruins the whole movie. It doesn't. It's just ridiculous. It's Indiana Jones. Like, it's got the wheelie action and stuff. And yeah, again, it's negatives, but it still doesn't take away too much of the positives. The biggest thing about this movie is Harrison Ford. He's back, he's grouchy, but he's still Indiana Jones, and he's still really great. And then you get to see him as a professor, and other people like hate this scene too when he talks about Marcus Brody and his dad, played by Sean Connery, that they're both dead. Everyone's like, how's his dad dead? Didn't he drink the cup of Jesus Christ? Like, he drank the Holy Grail. Shouldn't he be immortal and stuff? And I'm like, well, if you actually paid attention to Last Crusade, that the Grail's powers don't pass beyond the seal, because Indiana Jones also drinks the cup of Jesus Christ, the Holy Grail, and he's not immortal. His dad wouldn't be either. He just used the cup to save his dad's life, but when they pass out of the cave, the powers of the Grail do not work. That's why his dad's dead and his dad's not immortal. Some people were saying his dad should be immortal. No, he's not. The Night Crusader even said in Last Crusade, the Grail's power does not pass beyond the seal. So yeah, so just saying. And it introduces the story when you find out the side character Mud, played by Shia LaBeouf. This is another negative a lot of people have. They hate Shia LaBeouf in this movie. They don't like that he's Indiana Jones' son. They hate him. This one I actually don't understand. I actually think Shia LaBeouf's really good in the movie. I don't think he's great. I think he has some douchey moments, but I feel like that's what his character is. We all have douchebags. Every generation has douchebags. In the 1950s, this is what a 1950s douchebag would look like. They comb their hair. They got the leather jackets. If you've seen the movie Grease, that's a great movie. But I bet you when you look at them, like, wow, they look ridiculous. Well, that's the time period. That's exactly what Shia LaBeouf was in this movie. And I actually enjoyed him, and I think his camaraderie with Harrison Ford was really good. There's like a scene when he's in a diner with Harrison Ford, and he like takes a beer off a tray, and in the middle of their conversation, Harrison Ford takes the beer, puts it back on the tray. It's really good. It shows kind of like a fatherly son bond, even though they don't even know their father and son yet. It's a really good scene. And after that scene, they go into this really cool brawl at the diner, and it leads to a chase scene, a motorcycle chase scene. And another reason why I like this chase scene is because there's no CGI. It's all practical. And Harrison Ford, Shia LaBeouf, they're doing the scene. And it's a car motorcycle chase scene, crashing things, all practical effects. And it looks great. I'm all for practicality, not CGI. Yeah, there is some CGI in this movie, and it's pretty awful, but great scene. Really great scene. And then when you get to know more about this mythology of the Crystal Skull, this alien, gives you all the knowledge of all the world and stuff. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool story. And yeah, I was actually like invested when I see this movie. When I watch this movie and the plot thickens, it's actually interesting. All the mythology stories Indiana Jones tackles in all the Indiana Jones movies are interesting. And this one is really cool. The villain may not be interesting. The side villain may not be interesting. And there's some CGI and shit like that sucks and drags the movie down. But the plot is interesting. The main characters are great. And it brings back Marion. I'll get to her in a sec. There's another scene I like when they go to this like temple where all these like, you know, native Amazons, they shoot poisonous darts at them. Really great scene. I really love that. There's a scene like Indiana Jones like blows the dart back in the guy's throat. Awesome scene. And then Shia LaBeouf's like, you're a teacher? And he's like, part-time. It's great. Really great scene. Really funny. And they go through this like puzzle where like you go on the door and it flings down and up. Really cool, really great scene. There's also a funny scene where it involves a guy's knife. The banter in this movie is really good. It's very well written, and again, I think Shia LaBeouf and Harrison Ford work off each other really well, and it's very funny. I don't see the complaints about Shia LaBeouf. There's a couple scenes, again, he's kind of annoying, but I feel like that's what he's supposed to be. He's an annoying teenager. Like, God, I know many of those, and I work with those, so realism. But when we're introduced to Knox, this is the guy who raised Mud, and he was with Marion and stuff. He's played by John Hurt. This was a little disappointing because I love John Hurt as an actor, but they really give him nothing to do. He barely says any dialogue because he looked at the crystal skull and it fucked his head up and stuff. So he really doesn't say a lot of dialogue in this movie, which is disappointing because when you have John Hurt in your movie, you want him to say a lot of stuff because his voice is pretty great. But John Hurt does what he can with this movie and stuff. And when we're introduced to Marion, I really enjoyed that because out of all the Indiana Jones girls, I loved Marion the most from Raiders of the Lost Ark. And seeing that that's her son and then Indiana Jones is his father, it's really good. I really, really enjoy it. It also leads to probably the funniest moment in the movie when Indiana Jones is in the sinking mud. It's in the quicksand, and then Shia LaBeouf uses a snake to pull him out. And everyone knows Indiana Jones' deepest fear is snakes. Really great scene. I won't spoil any of the jokes, but fucking hilarious scene. Then it all leads up to this conclusion, this like cool car chase scene that I loved, but it also leads to a scene that I do hate. Everyone knows the scene is when Shia LaBeouf swings on the ropes with the monkeys. Really stupid scene. I don't know why they put this scene in the movie. They could have literally just done the fencing scene and then been done with it. But no, we get a cool fencing scene. And then all of a sudden he gets stuck on these ropes and they start swinging on them like a monkey and all these monkeys are on the ropes. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? It's ridiculous. I agree with the fans. Really fucking stupid. But it leads to a pretty cool climax when they go down these like waterfalls and they like return this crystal skull to the alien ship, and then it like gives Kate Blanchett all this knowledge and like blows her fucking brain out. It's pretty fucking great. It's pretty hilarious. It's a pretty funny way to die and kill a villain. I actually love it. And also before that, the cool scene with Indiana Jones when he fights the big Russian and he pounds the shit out of him. That's a pretty great scene too. And it ends really great too. It ends with Indiana Jones marrying Marion and stuff, and Shia LaBeouf tries to put the hat on, but he grabs it and puts it back on his own head. Pretty great. Yes, I would have been annoyed if at the end of the movie he put on the Indiana Jones hat. I would have been annoyed. But the fact that Harrison Ford takes it back and puts it on his own head, really great way to end the movie. So all in all, I think this movie is a good movie. When people call it one of the worst Spielberg films, it's a shitty movie. They never should have made a fourth one. I agree they probably shouldn't have made a fourth one, but as a film goes, I think it's super underrated. I enjoyed it. I think it's like a 7.5 out of 10 movie. I think it's almost up there with Temple of Doom, actually. I think it's a very good movie. Is it as good as Last Crusade or Raiders of the Lost Ark? Of course not. Raiders is amazing. Last Crusade's amazing. They're both masterpieces, but I think Crystal Skull gets a lot of hate. And I wanted to do this video just talking about how much I actually quite enjoy this movie, and I'm not ashamed to say I enjoy Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. But yeah, what are your thoughts and opinions? Do you agree with me? Do you think this movie is underrated? Do you think this movie is a piece of shit? Give me your thoughts and opinions. Comment below. Let me know. And as always, if you like this video, please subscribe to the channel and join the dark side.